It's 7 o'clock and I'd like to call our board meeting to order. Mr. Robson is unable to be with us this evening, so we have the Assistant Treasurer, Mrs. Holly McFadden, filling in for him tonight. We'll appoint her as soon as we do the pledge, but first we have to take roll call. So if you could call the roll, please.
Dr. DeMarco? Here. Mr. Eckenrode?
Here.
Mrs. Tomash?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mrs. Newman?
Here, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to welcome this amazing audience tonight. For our virtual audience, we have a lot of little friends here from our Falls Lenox grades 1 through 3 building, and we are super excited to hear what you have to say tonight. So thank you so much for coming. First, I'll take a motion from the board to appoint Assistant Treasurer Mrs. Holly McFadden as acting secretary tonight for this meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. McFadden, will you please call the roll?
Dr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes.
Mrs. Tomash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes, motion carries. All righty, well, we are now to the fun and exciting part. We're ready for our friends at Falls Lenox to make their presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lloyd.
Thank you, Mrs. Newman. So tonight, we have a few teachers with us and quite a few students. One of the things that the board should recall is the whole design qualities and designing and engaging work that has been going on in the school district for probably about 6 years now. And Falls Lenox has been really a pioneer and a trailblazer with that work. So tonight, their presentation is going from the design of things to the implementation of them. And so my guess is you are the designers and they are the implementers. So why don't you guys come up? I'm going to bring up our principal, Ms. Williams, as well, to kind of talk a little bit about things and introduce your crew.
Okay.
You can take this one.
All right. All right, good. Thank you, Dr. Lloyd. Good evening. So we are very excited to be here this evening and, as Dr. Lloyd said, talk to you about how we design work. And then we have some very excited students that are going to talk about how the projects that they've done and the work that they've been doing. They've been working really hard, and as Bain said to me, she's been waiting for this day for a long time. She said, I'm a little excited, but I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. So we have with us 4 members of our building design team. So we have Mrs. Petro, and Mrs. Petro has Adam Musalam and Seamus Wentz with her. We have Mrs. Tamura, and Mrs. Tamura has Kensley Burkhart and Bain Ferry, two of her students. Mrs. Karen Gommel has Aubrey Cathcart and Jada Gower here. And Mrs. Richmond Smith has Neha Kulkarni and Valentina Suarez, so 2 of her students here this evening. All right. Click right there. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay through this mic? Okay. So really, over the last several years, as Dr. Lloyd said, designing engaging work has really changed our entire instructional model. We have transformed the learning experience that we provide for students. And instead of starting with the standards and the learning targets, we begin with our students' needs, their interests, their motives, what they're going to bring to the work. And so teachers then design work that's intentional and includes design qualities that appeal to the motives of our students. And in these experiences, the students take the lead in their learning, and the teacher acts as a facilitator to the learning. So when we ask, our parents what their hopes and dreams are for our children, they they align with our portrait of a graduate. And what design work does is it gives our students an opportunity to apply these portrait of a graduate competencies in their work and in their experiences, and you'll hear some of that tonight. And through the work that the teachers have designed, they practice and apply these various competencies. So this graphic shows the design cycle, and what our teachers do is they collaborate to design a lesson or a unit of instruction. And at the start of this school year, we really looked at who our students are. So knowing the customer, they meet in teams to design work. They then plan the work, implement it, which is what our students are here to talk about tonight. They assess engagement, then they assess achievement, analyze those results, and then use the results of that feedback to redesign the next unit or lesson. So at the start of this year, our building design team determined that students really needed more opportunities with affirmation, which is sharing their learning and sharing their progress. And so this led our teachers to look for opportunities to further embed design qualities into our curriculum. So we use the Lucy Calkins reading and writing curriculum, and we've been designing what we call celebrations at the end of each unit. So Mrs. Tamura is going to now talk a little bit more about how she designed a writing celebration aligned with her students' needs, and then our second graders are going to share their opinion writing. So I'm going to turn it over.
So like she said, at the beginning of, I think we did this, maybe started 2 years ago with this actual unit. We really tried to think about, with this Lucy Calkins unit, what did they need? And obviously, as a grade level, we first did spec sheets for each of our individual classes, getting to know our who, and then looked at what would be engaging for this particular unit. So one of the big things is we wanted to make sure that the kids were writing about books, because this is a actual writing unit, and we wanted them to have the opportunity to be able to share out, with obviously the affirmation. And we, 2 years we've done this one, and I think probably out of all of our writing celebrations, this is probably my favorite. Is there another? Is this you?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, you can skip that one. Okay.
Put this down a little. So after we do our spec sheet and we know what our students need and we've picked out the design qualities that we want to highlight, we aren't ignoring the learning target. So our learning target for second grade is that they'll write opinion pieces, and there's a big long rubric of list of things they need to include in their opinions. They have to support their opinions with reasons and examples, but they don't know that really because we've created it in a different way. So we start our planning with a picture of success, and that means what will that look like when I look at a student who has reached this learning target and mastered what I want them to do. So our picture of success, that they'll write a nomination for a longer book they've read with a specific award named for the book. And then because we want to use affirmation and let them share their writing, they're sharing it at a red carpet ceremony, which was perfect timing this year because book awards just came out. These are some of the design qualities and portrait of a graduate competencies that we talked about. So, the product focus is really saying that we're not ignoring specifically how to write an opinion piece. And so they've seen the rubric at one point, they know all the things, but they're not writing those typical opinion writing pieces that you think of when you think of school, like, should the cafeteria serve chocolate milk, or, which is better, a dog or a cat? So we did combine this with our reading unit and their reading books. And so with affirmation, we don't want them to read books because we told them to. We want them to read books because they love them and they want to talk about books. And so this is their chance to do both of those things. They're talking about the books, and then they're giving them an award to say why they like it and convincing people that it deserves that award. And then, of course, self-confidence, because they're going to be standing up here and in front of their students at the red carpet ceremony, and also communication. We were discussing as teachers that we wish we had done this in third grade so that, as an adult, you wouldn't be afraid to stand up in front of the microphone. So I think Mrs. Tamura's two students are going to read first, and they're going to read and share their nominations.
Can I pull this down?
Yeah, absolutely. Either that or, take it off, or you can have them.
Come on up this way. So, like Karen said, these are books that they have read at their own reading level, and these awards that they created are what they came up with. So they're going to share just real quickly kind of their view of the process, and then they're going to share out their awards. This is Kinsley.
Our goal, our project was to write opinions on books about favorite characters, favorite parts, lessons, and books.
Our final project was making writing pieces about that book and giving out awards, and we always had to put hook, book, opinion, and then we had to give reasons that we have that opinion, and then we had to give out awards for this writing piece.
So they're going to share out their award that they created, but it's a surprise at the end. So go ahead and you can read your piece.
Have you ever heard of a pig that eats toast with a lot of butter on it? Well, I read the book Mercy Watson to the Rescue. I think this book is funny because Mercy's owners treats her like a human. In the book, at night before Mercy goes to sleep, Mr. Watson and Miss Watson sing her a song. In addition, once in the book, Mr. Watson and Miss Watson bed makes a crack in the floor and is breaking. Mercy comes in the room. Mr. Watson says, "Help us, Mercy." Mercy instead is thinking of a snack, so she runs out of the room. Mr. Watson and Miss Watson think she is going to get help, but really she is going next door to eat sugar cookies. Lastly, I think it's funny how mad Mercy makes Eugenia Lincoln, the next door neighbor. I nominate this book for the Funniest Pig Award.
Okay. And she's doing the book Katie Wu Has the Flu. Big loud voice.
Has your mom told you that you have a bug and you thought you actually had a bug running around in your belly? Well, I read Katie Wu Has the Flu. Me. It was hilarious. One thought was she didn't know that the bug meant she was sick. Another of Katie's thoughts was she was a polar bear who lost its fur. When her mom gave her some red pills, she said, "Pills are such pills." Katie got back to school once and her friends sang, "Boo on the flute, we missed you." "I did too," sang Mrs. Winkle. "I feel like a new Katie Wu," sang Katie. "I nominate this book to earn the Weirdest Thoughts Award."
Okay, this is Jada. If you could just read it, and then you two are going to talk at the end.
Have you ever read Different Words for Home? Well, I nominate it for most interesting because I like to learn about other cultures. They're from Arabic, which shows some clues of how it is in their country. They can really make you scared.
When they make it all better, you feel relieved. I also thought it was cool that there was an index of Arabic words that are really fun to say. And there was a little girl named Jude who is the main character. One reason I nominate different words for home is because when I was reading, I never wanted to stop reading. And that's why I nominate different words for home most interesting.
This is Aubrey.
Reader, have you ever heard about the book The Creepy Carrots? If you haven't, you should get it. I think it deserves the award for funniest characters because I like how the carrot follows him around, and when the boy looks, the carrot hides. I like how the mother says there's no such thing as creepy carrots, and how he loves eating the carrots, but then one day he found out that the carrots were creepy carrots. I like how he kept hiding from them. And finally found that he had to do something, so he did. And this is why I like it, and this is why it deserves the award for funniest characters.
So this is a demonstration of what we're going to do in class. All the kids in our class will get to pick out a nomination, and we are going to make a podium and dress fancy, and everyone is going to get to share their nomination.
And there's going to be a red carpet, and we are going to walk down it, and there's going to be a ton of teachers there.
This one's fine. Okay. All right. Hey, guys, come on up. This is Adam and Seamus. Just going to start us off. We also looked at the picture of success. We have a really hard unit on energy and forms of energy, which before was just very painful to teach, and also very hard for the students to understand. So we kind of looked at things that we could do to make this more enjoyable, and then this year we kind of changed it even more so. I know that a couple of us changed it so that they could work with partners because we knew that that was something they were craving to do after all this time alone. And so we kind of changed that. We listened to their hopes and dreams and their parents' concerns and kind of changed it so they had a partner work. So this is my team right here, Adam and Seamus. You know what, let's go to the next one, yeah. I'll let you do it.
Yeah. These are some of the design qualities that we incorporated into it. And the cool thing about this whole process is that you can, as teachers, we tailor it specifically to our own classes. So like Mrs. Petro's class was really eager to work in partners and to work that way. My class, as we learned about natural resources and recycling and all that, they found some issues that were really bothering them. A lot of kids were interested in helping animals and litter, so we kind of tailored our projects to that and to thinking about a problem that bothered them, that mattered to them. So it was just really cool to tailor it specifically to our kiddos. Some of the design qualities that we incorporated, the product focus, the kids, I think, I might be wrong, but usually the most exciting part of this whole project is the culmination of the building of the robot and collecting the materials and encouraging them, as you're collecting your materials, think about how could that work with the design that you made of your robot, and what is that paper towel roll going to do? And they were very thoughtful with all of their materials. Novelty and variety is just making it fun and helping them to decide what would be an engaging way. We talk about that word engagement. What would be an engaging way to share the problem that you're solving, and to make it fun so that everybody wants to care about the problem and so that they use your product to solve that problem in the environment. And then affiliation is just such a great way to end it. We share in lots of different ways. In my room, we were splitting the group in half and sharing with each other back and forth. We use our online platform Seesaw so that they can make videos of themselves sharing, and they can share those with their family members. The kids can log on and they give each other feedback. A star, a thing I like about your work, and then a step might be a question that I'm wondering, or a way that maybe you might even think about improving your project. It's just lots of different ways so that they can share and feel proud and to kind of further their work. So do you guys want to share yours first? All right.
Guys, come on up. Okay, we started with the planning page. I think, Seamus, you have that? Do you remember doing this? Lots of hard work. They not only had to plan it out, but they had to pick 3 forms of energy that they had to describe. Not only describe it, but understand it and be able to communicate it out. So they made this lovely drawing and then talked about the 3 forms of energy. And after we kind of did this planning, it took a while, right? Was that one of the hardest parts of the problem?
No, it was.
Tape was an issue, right?
Yeah, the tape was a very big issue.
So they got a chance to give me feedback afterwards, and the funniest thing was almost half of the class said, "We need more of that big, clear tape." It was a little bit of a problem. Yeah. What was one thing that you would have changed if you were the teacher?
I would definitely get more bigger boxes for people to get a bigger robot like me and Seamus, because ours was taller than me.
Yeah, that's
so
not here tonight.
yeah.
But really cool that they were able to build such a huge one. What was important about this work?
I think what is important, we were learning how to work with a partner. So say if you're working with a partner you don't like, you know how to work it out now, because me and Seamus definitely had some difficulties throughout the way.
True. But the great thing is you worked them out, right? Yeah. That's a life skill, right? I think you said something, Seamus, on yours about how you had fun while learning, right? And I think that's the key too. We have some robots up here for you to look at. You want to describe a little bit about them? All right, real quickly. Do that.
Jacoby's is the little one, and the first thing they did is adding a car so it can go up and down. And then Ben brought in LED lights for the lighting, and then they brought, I think Jacoby did, and he brought in this tape to tape it all around, and they ran out of it. Then Ben brought the orange tape.
Okay, so we got
Energy.
Energy of light.
There's something up here. You want to a lot of them did these.
So this, on the top in the bucket, it's sound energy, and they a lot of people did sound energy. Basically copied our They kind of copied our idea because it was our idea first. Yeah. So, and then ours was a little bit different. We had 2 big toothpicks, and then we put a rubber band around it, and there was a guitar, and yeah, to make the vibrations.
Anything else you want to say? Would you do this project again?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right, thanks. Let's hear it.
All right, I have Valentina and Miha, and they're going to tell you a little bit about their projects. I'm going to put yours right there. Okay. All right. So this is Miha. Ooh. It's okay. We have design flaws, and we talk about that. And we talk about, what went well. And actually, they all drew these in their notebooks first. And as they were building them, I said, let's go back and make sure you're following your design that you drew. And they were like, that wasn't working. I had to improve upon it. And I just loved it because they realized, like, oh, I might have started out this way, but I found ways to make it better. So, Neha, you want to come on over, and each one of them are going to read to you a little bit about their robots.
Hi, my name is Neha. Water wasting is a problem because we use water for many things. In fact, we use water every day, and we need water to survive. Introducing Bulldog Water Saver. She helps solve the problem by saving water when people are overusing it. The 4 forms of energy included in my robot are mechanical energy when it moves, sound energy when it is done powering up, light and it lights up when it turns on, also electrical energy when it charges. An interesting fact about my robot is that my robot is waterproof. My favorite part of this project was building my robot because it was a really fun project and we had a lot of materials to be creative with. Thank you.
All right. Great job. So now, Valentina, you want to come on over this way? You can tell us about yours. Here, let's stand maybe over here so everybody can see you.
Hi, my name is Valentina. In my opinion, water pollution is a problem because animals like sea turtles can eat, choke, and even die. My robot is here to help. Introducing the Recyclebot 2000. He helps solve the problem by going to seas, lakes, and beaches to pick up trash and recycling. Then he puts them in a compartment by his arm, which leads to a tube, which leads to a trash or recycling bin. The 3 forms of energy included in my robot are light energy when needs to be charged, and chemical when charging, sound when it turns on. An interesting fact about my robot is that it's waterproof and it has 3 speeds, fast, medium, and slow. My favorite part of this project was building. I liked building it because you could get really creative with like the materials that you got to use.
All right, Mrs. Petro, do you want to talk about this one?
You know what, I think we covered most of it, but they had some really cute comments after. You can go back to that last one.
Okay.
Just about what they liked and what they didn't like about it. And like Adam and Seamus were saying, the one I like the most is I liked building the best because I'm a building kind of guy. They could be anonymous, and so that one, I'm not sure who wrote that, but I thought I got a good laugh out of that one. But why the work was important was the most important to me, knowing that they knew that.
And it's interesting because, like, as they were working on it, it could seem like kind of crazy because there's all these great materials around the room, but there's just like this buzz of energy, and I didn't really even have to deal with any behavior issues or anything. Like, everybody was just so into their work, and everybody, I think, just wanted more time, right? Just more and more and more time. It's really a fun time in the classroom. Are we done with this? Okay. All right.
Thank you to all of our students and families for coming tonight, and teachers. Everyone did a great job.
Carrot photos. Who had the carrot? That book seems very much. Are they scary? Really? That seems, yes, that's. Can you get, is there a copy of the library?
There's only a chapter.
Yeah, quick.
So proud of them.
That was nice.
best part of the meeting, right?
Great job. Love your robots.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you everyone for coming, and our young friends are more than welcome to head home. Yeah. Again, it's a big night. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. You guys were awesome.
Sometimes I miss that age.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Good job, girls.
So much fun.
The shorter robot was Ben's robot, my son's robot.
Oh, it was?
It was. Him and his partner, him and Jacoby.
Nice. And they want to make the water wells.
No, the second one
was the water.
when the two boys were up there.
Oh, when the two boys.
Yeah, there's LED lights.
Wheels. That one was pretty involved.
Yeah.
We'll start with
Future engineer.
Council. Mrs. Jen Prugar emailed the board that she couldn't be here tonight, but I do have a report on my phone. So the PTA report is, we almost have 2,000 PTA members throughout the district. Early childhood PTA, their outing recently was sugar cookie decorating, painting, ice skating. Safety Town is scheduled for June 13th through 17th and June 20th through 24th. It's always exciting for our little Bulldogs. Falls Lennox ECC PTA, they have a STEM night coming up. Valentine parties happened last Friday. They awarded teacher grants. And Playhouse Square was rescheduled for early March, and they have over 900 members. The intermediate school virtual Playhouse Square production of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. They have a pasta fundraiser in the works. They had their Valentine parties, and they're still looking for volunteers to help out during breakfast and lunch and the Dollar Dog store. Middle school PTA, their dodgeball fundraiser happened on Friday, the 6th. Grade team, the men were big winners. I'm not sure what grade they were.
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade, okay.
I believe so.
There we go.
The men. They had fake mustaches. It was pretty fun.
Very fun. And they had to play against the staff team at the they get to play the staff team at the high school at the dodgeball coming up. Very fun. Breakfast Buddies is planned for April 8th. And that PTA is providing a scholarship opportunity for students to attend Washington, D.C. High school PTA, there were 144 applicants this year for scholarships. Over $11,000 from all PTA units contributed to scholarships for our seniors. The talent show has been postponed until next year. That's a bummer. Dodgeball fundraiser Thursday, February 24th. So that's the PTA report. A lot going on with PTA out, as always. Thank you. Next up is Dr. James Tapman. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, is it Kelly first?
No, Jody.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally jumped over you. Sorry,
That's
Jody.
okay. There's no
Dr. DeMarco Polaris.
There's no major Polaris report because we have not met since our last meeting. I will say, I think we all heard that Polaris is completely full, And they have over 100 people on the waiting list, so they are growing by leaps and bounds.
I will say too, just because it's Polaris related, that our retreat last week was fantastic for a lot of reasons, but one of which for me was my first time going to Polaris, and that my wife was getting annoyed with me by the end of the weekend about talking about how beautiful the building it is and the amazing capabilities they have over there. So highly encourage anybody who's never been there and wants to check it out, who has a student who might be looking at that soon. It's an incredible place.
Did they provide any, I guess, thoughts or relief on how they're going to, what they're going to do with the 100 people on the waiting list?
They have not yet, because they were almost full when we met last, and we haven't met again. So I do have a meeting with the superintendent next Friday, and I'll get to ask some additional questions. I know that they have talked about expanding in the past, but that would require a lot of moving parts to fall into place, and the acquisition of another career tech center that they could then operate and grow, attracting other students. So that would alleviate, I think, some of the students that could potentially go to the other site, opening up more space, but that's not an immediate fix.
So are they maxed out in terms of like their facilities to?
I believe it's spacing. You can only fit so many kids in so many classrooms during the 2 blocks during the day. So they've have had discussions. I don't know that they've decided where they're going to go, what they're going to do. If they can add sections in any place, I think they are trying. And they have the new vet tech program that they're starting. So they're building things. I just don't know how they can fit additional kids into spaces.
I'll talk to Bob too, to see. I haven't heard anything from them as far as what they're doing. 100 kids is a lot of kids.
Yeah.
People pay a lot of money to Polaris.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Dr. DeMarco. Now, Dr. Chapman, thank you.
Thanks. So my normal monthly board report is attached, so I can answer any questions for that. But with the retreat that we had last week, I just want to kind of highlight the 2 sessions that came out of this department. The first is the human capital. So we talked about staffing, and we talked about the value of all of our employees. And really, when we started with that graphic of multiple circles, the center of that was the student. So we make decisions based on needs of the students, and every one of our employees has an impact on the student, from the classroom to the office or building supports to transportation. So that was good to review and then see alignment and then make some projections for, into the future. And then the other one was Heath's session about facilities. So he prepared a lot of great information about facilities. We have 5 school buildings, a board office, and a bus garage, and they're being well taken care of, but they're also starting to have some age. So there's different parts of the high school that were from 65, and different parts of Falls and Lennox, and then the connector. So there's some work on the horizon to come with that. And I think the other part with that is Heath emphasizing his work, as well as others in the district, of seeking outside resources for those. So we have the permanent improvement plan, which, that is local dollars, but he also works hard to apply for different state and federal grants in order to either enhance the facilities that we have or offset some of our internal expenses to maintain our facilities. So, so some good work going on there too. But it was a good session. Any questions?
No, just I really, really appreciate the work that Heath did in pulling together all of that information and presenting it in a way that we could get our arms around. Yeah. So that was excellent work.
Thanks, Dr. Chapman.
Yeah, thanks,
Mrs. Kogan?
So as we watched Ms. Williams' presentation in regards to designing engaging work, and that's at our Falls Lennox, our 1st through 3rd grade building, we don't just do that for our youngest students. We look for opportunities to engage and inspire our students, even at our highest level at high school. So as I've told you, we've been working with a cohort of 16 students, seniors at the high school, for our Lean Six Sigma program. For people who are in the audience, it's an established professional credential that signals the know-how and commitment to be able to work smart using methods that maximize organizational resources. It is an opportunity for us to empower our students to start to use real-world skills that'll help them in their career and in college. We had an opportunity this past week. They had their session at the Vitamix in Strongsville. So we attended there for the day, and in the morning, the Lean team from Vitamix, so they have a team called the Lean team that utilizes the Lean Six Sigma strategies. That is their job. They came and presented to our students so they could see what it would look like within an organization. And then they took the students out into the plant, to the factory, to see Lean Six Sigma in action within the plant. And they showed them various things that they have done throughout the plant to work smarter, work better, save money, be safe. It covers all of those things. So it was a great point in the program for them to start taking these concepts and then see them in action. So at this point, the students are starting to, they're working on their own process improvement project. So they are starting with a process that may have some areas for improvement, and they're going to work through the model and the process using the Lean Six Sigma strategies. And then at the final program, they'll be presenting those projects to personnel from various companies. So we're hoping to have that again, like I said, an opportunity to record that so students can see their presentations afterwards, their family can see their presentations, and then they'll earn that yellow belt certification after their assessment. It's a great opportunity for those students who are going right into a career after high school, for them to get hired, because that is a credential that many industries look for, and we are one of the first in the country who is offering this to high school students. And what's interesting is we mentioned to BW that we wanted to start, we want to keep this going and have potentially 2 cohorts next year, fall and spring, and she mentioned you can keep doing that, but our job now at BW is we're getting so many calls from other high schools from the press that we've gotten in Cleveland.com. So this will eventually be something that BW will begin to start using, with schools in the area. And then my thought process is that will be shared with other universities who will also look for those opportunities. So it's really exciting, and there might be an opportunity. We're trying to see where we're going to host that last day, what business we're going to work with, partner with. So I'll send the date out if any of you are available. We'd love to have you sit in and on the panel.
How did that start? I mean, how did this whole opportunity?
Yeah, so Dr. Lloyd was attending, we're part of a business advisory group. And
right.
Remember, and there's monthly meetings, and we go, and he happened to be at one of those. And really what it was a program that Vitamix partnered with BW, and what they called it was an earn and learn program. So what happens is you get these, Vitamix would have employees that would come in at the entry level. So they'd come and work on their plant floors. They may not have specific coursework to advance within the company, right? But they are good workers, and Vitamix wants them to stay. And obviously, when you're going to stay and you start at an entry level, the goal is that you could move up within the organization. So what Vitamix did was said, could we partner with BW where those employees would be able to work and earn certificates, earn credit, earn college credits while they're working with us in order to make that advancement. And so what happens is the employees have like maybe an hour within their work time where they're able to go and work on their homework, their assignments that they have to do with class. They may finish 2 hours early, but they get to go over to BW for the course. So they make it where it's manageable for people to earn and learn at the same time, where it doesn't become, if you're working a third shift on the floor, that you get home and then it's, you're sleeping the day and you miss the classes that might be offered. So they work within their schedules to be able to do this. So that was kind of the idea, was like, oh, I wonder if we could do an earn and learn. And then we were thinking, well, what if, and we had this conversation with BW and said, how could we partner? And she said one of the things that the Earn and Learn does, one of the certificate programs for Vitamix, is Lean Six Sigma. And we said, well, could we do that with high school students? And she said, we've never done that before, but let's find out. So that's how that kind of came to fruition.
Very cool. Any questions for Mrs. Kogan? Thank you so much. That's super exciting. Is there any treasurer report at all, or it's just what's on the agenda?
Nope, there is.
Okay.
So I'd say it sent me with some highlights for you.
Okay,
but
great.
I do have a financial report.
Okay.
So some of our financial summary highlights. Our fiscal year-to-date revenue is $1.06 million ahead of the forecast, basically due to the rollout of the new funding model, but this is expected to adjust downward towards the remainder of fiscal year 22. Our fiscal year-to-date expenditures are $196,000 less than was forecasted. And there's a $1.2 million favorable impact on our projected June 2022 ending cash balance. Again, it's assumed to adjust downward over the remaining of fiscal year 22. Our January 2022 cash balance is $5.1 million higher than it was in January of 2021. Our projected June 2022 cash balance is projected to be $3.5 million higher than June of 2021, $9.6 million versus $6.2 million last year. We'll be updating our state foundation projections with the month-end February reporting. He anticipates that while the adjustments will bring us closer to our original plan, we'll still be on the favorable side due to the expense containment and continued strong real estate collections. Status on our audit, we're nearing the completion of the fiscal year 21 audit. We've been informed that they are expected to complete early March. The bid process, contract awards, and final appropriations appear to be the remaining areas of focus. So we're getting near the end of that. Capital improvements. From the board work session discussion over this past weekend, you noted that there were numerous high priority projects that were identified, including HVAC, fire and safety, bus fleet, parking lots, bus garage, and replacement of various pieces of operating equipment. The schedule was reviewed with a summary premise of a financial need of roughly $2.5 million annually over a 5-year period to place us in a better position for the coming years. The takeaways from that conversation is we'll begin discussions with our finance committee, the community members, and the key stakeholders to put together a financial approach that meets the needs of the projects and is acceptable to the residents. And he wanted to thank all of you for your open discussion and care and passion that you exhibit for the long-term care of our facilities. And finally, early indications of our fiscal year 2023 insurance premiums. Our fiscal year 2022 costs have continued to soar on the insurance front. Prescription costs and what he calls our turn in the bucket for high-cost claims are taking their toll on our current reserves. And he says, while not discussed yet in detail, the monthly data has set our expectation for a marked increase for this next year. He says, we continue to work with NFP to provide solutions to help our costs and our employees' costs while still providing high-quality offerings. So firm estimations will be presented in the March-April timeline for the coming fiscal year. And that's all I have unless there's any questions.
That was a good summary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lloyd.
Thanks. I just have a couple of things. First, thanks for all the positive comments about the retreat. I thought that we thought that was a good experience as well, and we're looking forward to the next one. Today, our district leadership team met again with John Tanner to talk about benefits-based accountability system. I think we did a lot of really good work today. We're continuing to do that work, and I think at some particular point in time, maybe within the next, I don't know if it'll be this year or if it'll be in the fall, we'll have students come and report to you on what a benefits-based accountability system is, because it needs to be reported, the value of it, by its users, and students are one of the primary users with that, as are parents too. COVID, I think the numbers still continue to look pretty good. Cuyahoga County, from I guess rankings of all 88 counties, is the lowest. We've been, I think, maskless since the 21st of January. I don't anticipate having to go backwards or anything like that. I think we're in pretty good shape there. I'm thankful that we didn't have to cancel any of the trips. We stayed the course with those. A lot of other districts canceled their Florida trip to Disney or their Washington DC trip, and we didn't do any of that, so I think that we're pretty good in that regard. So that's really all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Disney is this weekend?
They
They
left
left-
at
they left
5:20.
Oh, they just left. Oh,
Today,
on the road.
yes.
Great.
So, 230
Marching
to
band.
50 kids,
Yeah, like 4 ginormous buses.
Yeah, there's a lot. So, I think they got out in time.
Is there, do they video that or something? Is there a way to see that?
Well, I'll be there, so I'll
Other
be
than
there.
your cell phone?
Other than my video of my kids. I don't know if they're gonna live stream it, like, I don't know if Disney, like,
I'm sure they'll find a way to charge you $50 to watch it.
yeah, there might be like a pirated
Disney
video
Plus.
from like
Right.
Sandra Graham or something.
I'm sure they'll post it on Twitter, is what they'll do. I don't think you have the opportunity to watch it live, but I don't know that. Good check.
I don't know, I think there was like this whole, you're not allowed, no cameras, no nothing. I think Disney wants you to show up to see the parade. Right? So, they got me coming. So, thank you everyone for your administrative reports, we appreciate it. Moving on to hearing of the public, we have quite a few tonight. So we'll go in order of registered on the computer, and I'll remind our audience you have 5 minutes. So we'll start with Mr. Ed Dean. Yeah, we might need a microphone.
Yeah, you can just go over there. It's fine.
You wanna go up there, or you wanna just go here? Wherever you want.
Hello.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to yield my minutes to the following speakers as they need them: Molly Hitch, Lori McCafferty, and Rich Graham. So if they need extra minutes, I'm yielding my minutes to them.
Oh, you're not talking at all?
Pardon me?
You're not speaking at all?
I'm yielding my minutes to them.
I'm not sure that we.
Do that.
That's fine. So you're you're splitting up 5 minutes between 3 people? Okay.
If one doesn't need it, then.
Okay, great. Ms. Loretta McCafferty. Well, we have a virtual audience, and they'd like to hear you, so if you don't mind coming to the podium,
Use this one. I think this one is a little more balanced.
or at least to the microphone, so everyone that's going to view this online.
Make it so her back's not to the back of the video.
Absolutely.
Does she want to talk to them, or should
Ready?
There we go. She's addressing the board, so.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
ready?
Okay, yes, I am. There is a coalition, Protect Ohio Children Coalition. They have a website. They list the school districts in Ohio where there is evidence of CRT, SEL, Jedi, all the other Marxist ideologies that you want to name, and Olmsted Falls is listed among those school districts. So there is evidence that it is being taught in our school district, even though it is being denied that it's being taught. I would like the superintendent to please address this. Thank you.
Do you want him to address it in
No,
that?
Right now. I mean,
No,
it's
that's
all-
not how this
What
works.
the Protect Ohio Children Coalition is.
That's not how this works.
I don't know who runs it.
It's a website, Protect Ohio Children Coalition. I'm not sure if it's .org, I believe it's .org. And they list the school districts in Ohio where there is evidence of CRT, Jedi, SEL, all the other Marxist ideologies that you want to throw in there, along with neighboring school districts, Berea, North Ridgeville, Parma, Strongsville. So it is being taught in our school districts, even though it's being denied.
Because they said it was?
There is evidence. I didn't go dig further into that
website, but there is evidence, and they show the school districts throughout Ohio where CRT is being taught.
I think that we would probably need to understand what evidence they supply from our school district, Homestead Falls, what they deem is evidence.
Okay,
So
parents.
you just saying that we're on a website, we need to understand what their evidence is.
Okay,
So-
parents email or, contact this coalition to let them know, so there is
Okay.
evidence.
So again, we would need to understand the concrete evidence that they're providing from our district, not another district, but because you're asking about Homestead Falls.
Right.
Okay, can't you look it up? Can't you guys look it up? I mean, aren't you concerned about this website?
So we are not, we're in a meeting, and so we're not going to.
I get that, not right now, but you can look into it. I would.
Listen, I mean, you guys all know, there are lots of things that people write about the school district, including some of the people that are in this audience. There are websites that say different things about the school district. The website that I would look to see whether or not, or to see what we do as it relates to curriculum instruction is ofcs.net. That's the one that's the school district website.
Well, I mean, all we're asking you is check into this one.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I'll look at the website.
And also, if I did not use all of my 5 minutes, I would like to yield my time to whoever else needs it.
Mr. John Hedge.
I yield my time to Molly Hitch.
Okay, so the next person up is Ms. Barb Cratch. Is she here? Yeah. Okay, you'll be next, Molly. Just the way it came in on our form.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I'm here as a little bit of an employee and a little bit as a citizen. Okay. I'm going to start off by letting you know it's an 18-ton, 40-foot long, 84-passenger. It holds 100 gallons of fuel. It's a vehicle. It is operated by one of 40 people in your district who are licensed to drive it. These 40 people are FBI checked, fingerprinted, federally and state licensed to drive this vehicle. They're subjected to random drug and alcohol testing, and they must get yearly physicals and a yearly driving history of their license to make sure there's nothing inappropriate on there. These operators perform a daily safety check on each and every vehicle that they drive, looking for anything that may hinder or impede the safety of the passengers or driver who ride this vehicle. These are your operators. These are your bus drivers. The vehicles are your school district vehicles. The drivers in the school district enjoy what they do, but the buses they are given to operate and drive every day are deplorable. And that's a nice word for them. Let me state, I'm not here to put down or malign any of my fellow employees or supervisors. I enjoy and love them all. The buses they are given to drive are awful. Okay? You need to know this. You truly do. Because they've become, in most cases, unsafe. They pass their inspections and we don't know how. We don't understand how, but they're not safe to drive. Some of the buses have rotted out so badly that there are holes in the floor, the size of my thumb, my finger, where students can watch the road go by as they're being driven to and from school. The floors crumble under the feet as they walk on these floors. They're just rusting away. And when the buses are swept, the floor moldings around the edge that are between the walls of the bus and the floor are coming off with the trash. They're ending up in the trash bags because they're being swept right in there. Some of our buses, to accommodate our athletics and other teams, have luggage bays underneath. Those luggage bays have rotted out, And those bays, like on my bus, have been permanently locked, permanently closed, because it is not safe for them to be used. These are your buses. There are buses where the gauges in the dashboard do not work. I have a temperature gauge that they tell me when it's not working, pound on it. Eventually it'll come back, it'll work. There are also buses that have no speedometers. Have you ever tried to drive a vehicle without a speedometer? Have you ever tried to drive a vehicle in the evening when it's dark or in the morning when it's dark and all of a sudden your dashboard goes dark? You can't see anything? This is what we drive. There are gauges on our bus, they're called engine warning lights, and they indicate that there's a problem, something's wrong with our engine. Some of these have been activated for 2 years now. 2 years. Not just once in a while, but 2 years. There are buses, and this is my favorite, that we are told they cannot leave the district because they may leave the district and never come back or have to be towed back. I know this because I was on a trip the one night when one of our buses, a newer bus, was left in Parma because it could not be driven back. How can the members of the board allow this to become normal for this department? This is a normal, everyday occurrence. It's not once in a while, it's normal. Why are there not more funds made available for this department? Why is it that we have to wait until after the football team gets their grass or the high school kids get to go to Baldwin Wallace and participate in something special? Why is it that these buses that travel an average of 250 miles a week or 50 miles a day, never leaving your district, are left in such deplorable conditions? This is the safety of your children. Your children. This is their safety. I don't know about you guys, but there are often times I wonder. Also, I need to address the support or lack of support.
Your time is up, but we'll just allow you to finish your work.
I'm going to use Ed's time. Ed? Thank you. Many of us also feel the need to address the lack of support we receive from our administrators. Whether it's the students misbehaving in general on the bus, or the lack of support we get with our federal mask mandate. Yeah, I know, it's the mask again. But you know what? We are under federal guidelines. We have no choice. As of February of last year, you became the mask police. We became the mask police. It's a civil penalty if those children and adults who ride our buses do not wear their masks. They can be taken off by the police. We can refuse to drive them. It's a federal mandate. Why are we not being supported in this? Why do we have to fight with our administrators to make them comply, all those students and adults who ride our buses? We shouldn't have to.
Explain that a little bit more.
What would you like to know?
I mean, the mask mandate by the feds is one that, a lot of people are talking about. It's certainly one that we continue to have on our vehicles. There's discussion at the governor's office that may be revoked in March.
We're hoping, it ends on March 18th. We're hoping that it doesn't extend.
This is the first I've heard of, I know that people are going to pull their masks down, and believe me, I understand what the problems associated with masks and people's willingness to do it or not do it, but I guess I would want to know, and you don't have to tell me now, but I think we could talk about it, or maybe if you let Sean know, which administrators aren't being supportive, do you feel not supported by as it relates to masks? And if there are some, I think that we need to have a conversation about that.
The high school.
Okay.
The athletic department.
Okay.
I don't know if the elementary students have been affected as much, but I know the high school is one of our main, because they're at that age where they feel they have every right in the world to speak their mind, and they do, but sometimes they can't, and this is one of those areas they can't, because this is a federal.
Oh, I understand what it is.
believe me, as drivers, we do not want to sit there and police you, but there's a chance that we could get in trouble for not following a federal
Well,
mandate.
we're not going to get you in trouble.
No, you won't.
It's beyond your control.
But it could be any parent that contacts TSA or Homeland Security. They can say, hey, guess what? That driver in Olmsted Falls, they're not,
I've
you
not
know.
heard anybody, right, yeah. I don't think anybody over there is going to give you a problem, for sure. I mean, you got to worry about that.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. You never know who's around the corner.
There are no COVID police.
I know this. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, you have to support us when we're doing our job according to the federal government. It needs to be supported, whether parents want masks or not. This is out of our control. It's the federal government that's saying that we have to do this, just like on an airplane. And here's the thing, we can refuse to drive those students. We can leave them at school, we can leave them at home, because the federal government has said that we can do that. Now, I'll end it with this. Thanks, hon. We feel in a lot of areas that, you know how we have that statement that says the kids are inspired and empowered? We feel that those kids are more entitled than they are empowered. These children have become very disrespectful. We see it a lot on the playgrounds. We see it a lot in the buses. The administration doesn't back us up all the time when it comes to discipline. And it's very rough to be a driver. It's very rough to work in the schools these days. We have a great group of drivers. We truly do. And we need your support. We need to know that you're behind us and that you want safe buses and good rides for children. And we want to do the right thing and make this district great because we do enjoy this district. We like working here. We don't want to cause trouble. We just want to make sure that we're doing a good job and doing it well and doing it safely.
Barb, who is the person in the transportation office who helps with union issues and things related to contract and morale and support?
You mean our union steward?
Yeah, who's that?
Mr. John Ewell.
Yeah, have you brought any of these issues to John?
John, have we brought any issues to you?
To the administration and have the administration discuss them? Because really, I appreciate the fact that you came here and you were very candid with your comments, for sure. As the person who is supposed to oversee the administration of the school district, it concerns me with a lot of things you said, particularly as it relates to the state of the vehicles, which is a financial issue that we're going to get at. But as it relates to some of the other things that aren't money related, which includes respect and morale and culture and some of those other things, those are things that we want to work with the transportation department on. And generally, the way that that works is, I know that James and Pete and Sean and those guys meet at least once a month to talk about it.
Right, we know this, yeah.
So I appreciate the fact that you brought him here. If I could choose, which I can't, obviously, it's not my control, that those kinds of conversations would be worked out at the building level rather than out in the public.
I understand that. But I needed the board to know. I needed the board to realize that we, as employees, are trying to do our best to do a great job for you and to make your school district, our school district, the best that we can. But we need the equipment. We need the drivers. We can't get drivers to come here because we don't have good equipment. We don't have what they need. We don't have the time or the hours or the benefits that they want. How can we get that? What can we do? And that's something that we talked with John and having your monthly meetings he mentioned. So we're willing to work with you guys. And we invite you. We would love to see the board members come to the bus garage. We would love to see you come ride one of our buses. We would love if it broke down on the side of the road like it's prone to do, and have you sit with us while we wait for people to come and rescue us. We would love you to see our parking lot, and tomorrow morning how lovely the beautiful lakes and puddles will turn into ice ponds, and we'll be able to skate across them, and most of us will fall because that's what happens there. We would love for you to come see our bathrooms. We would love for you to come visit and see how the guys have what they have to work with. And our meeting room is actually the bus bays where the mechanics work on the buses. We would love you to join us there and sit in an old rickety table and old chairs while we sit amongst oil and other stuff. So yes, please come join us. We would love to have you there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Thank you. Okay,
All right, so you've got the time.
thanks. Yeah.
Begins now.
Okay. So my name is Molly Hitch. I'm a parent in this district. I want to talk about the ESSER funds and how masking was a requirement of receiving the money for the ESSER funds. Ohio was given $4.5 billion in the American Rescue Plan. And in order to get that money, you had to agree to the CDC guidelines for mitigating COVID-19, which suggest, the agreement suggested that a school board would forfeit that money if that was not adhered to. Do you have a response to that? Because you have denied that in the past.
So we're not, you're more than welcome to address the board. We don't typically do a back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you have questions that you would like answered, you can submit them and we can then respond, not tonight and not during our meeting, because that's not how our question and answer session is.
Okay.
So if you would like a response to that question or allegation, whatever you like to call it, you can submit it to the board and we will give you a response.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, because I'll just go through what I have then. For the policies for mitigation strategies that is found on board docs, it specifically says the district has a school board policy with on when facial covering is required and when it will be followed. The district will follow the guidance from the CDC and the local Board of Health regarding any changes to the wearing of face coverings, and the CDC's guidelines is mandatory masking. There's also, you had a meeting in May where it was a forecast overview for the budget, and one of those things on the PowerPoint presentation from that meeting, we will receive $847,397 in ESSER 2 and $1.9 million in ESSER 3 that will help offset the state cuts. So obviously there was a financial problem and a financial incentive for you to take this money. And you knew that you had to do it because it was in the plan. It's in this plan. If any parent wants to see it, it's right here. Also, there's an example, lots of examples, of district superintendents who said they're not going to mask, and they got their funding pulled. They took the money away because they refused to mask. It is true. It is true. So, it's been brought up to this board before, and it's never been acknowledged or addressed. You keep saying, submit a question. I came to a meeting before, and there was a woman that stood up and asked this question, and you twisted around to make it seem like she was asking, is the district getting paid to mask children? When that was clearly not the question. You play these semantics games, and you're not addressing what the issue is, which is that you're being called out for taking this money and knowing that you had to mask children in order to get the money. Yes, it is true.
You tried to sue us.
Yes. I lost because the judge said that I didn't have the right to represent my own children pro se. I thought you weren't allowed to address me. That's not how this works here. I thought you weren't allowed to.
You made a statement as far as an incorrect.
You're a liar. You're a liar. You took the ESSER money knowing that the mandatory masking would be required once cases reached a certain level. You absolutely knew that. And you took the ESSER money knowing that 20% of it had to be used to address social and emotional needs of children. It's in the agreement. Why are you saying it's not true when it's clearly, I have it here. I have it with me. So how are you saying it's not true? You broke state, national, and international laws. The board violated their oaths. You all took oaths to uphold the Ohio and the United States Constitution. Article 1, Section 21 of the Ohio State Constitution says that no citizen shall be compelled to participate in a healthcare system, indirectly or directly. Mandating masks and contact tracing and quarantining, all of that fall under the definition of a healthcare system. You broke your oath that you did not uphold the Constitution of the state of Ohio. Dereliction of duty. You have no reason to even be sitting here. You're practicing medicine without a license. You indirectly or directly recommended children inject an experimental gene therapy into their bodies that is not FDA approved. It is still only approved under emergency use authorization. The only one that is approved is the RNA one. That one is approved, but they actually don't have any of that vaccine. So the ones that the children are, being injected with are not FDA approved. They're not. So you are going to have to live with that decision that you did that. You took this money knowing that you were going to set up these vaccine clinics for a disease that has never been isolated. They've never isolated a COVID-19 virus. They could extrapolate it from infected tissue. It's never been isolated. The tests were completely bunk. And the children literally have a 0% chance of any serious effects. Zero. You are going to have to live with the fact that if one of these children has long-term damage or injuries, that you set up the clinics for them to go get injected with this poison. There's a lot of commercials for AIDS pills. It's pretty weird. Okay, moving on to CRT. You denied that it's in schools. Obviously, this is not true. I've heard you call those who argue that it is conspiracy theorists, and I've heard you say to stop watching Fox News, which shows your ignorance because actual conspiracy theorists don't watch Fox News. Because they know that any mainstream media is fake because of the Smith Modernization Act of 2012. I would like anyone on the board raise your hand if you know what that is. Okay. The Smith Modernization Act of 2012 allows the government to run psychological operations on the people and disseminate foreign propaganda on all mainstream television outlets, radio, TV. You're making faces like I'm crazy. You need to look this up because you don't know what it is. And it allows the government to run psychological operations on its own people and show foreign propaganda on media stations. I know yeah. Okay, so it's basically legalized fake news. And one of those psychological operations was to trick people like you into calling people like me conspiracy theorists. So this leads me to think that you actually don't understand what critical race theory is, because if you actually did understand what critical race theory is and you're going ahead with this, that would make you evil people. Critical race theory is it's a Trojan horse to usher in an ideology. You can look up the history of it. It's adapted from traditional theory and Marxism. It started in the Frankfurt School. In the 50s, they were using the the critical theory they wanted to dissolve liberal principles and the US Constitution. They wanted to bring in Marxism and do in the United States what they did to Russia, but the middle class in the United States was too big. So they couldn't do that. And then it sort of morphed into critical race theory in the early 70s. But in all of this, language is key. It claims that ordinary words actually mean the opposite. So colorblindness equals racism, and equality is white supremacy. It needs to be equity. The good news is that more and more people are waking up to see what's going on, and they're rejecting it. What does this have to do with the ESSER funds? Well, first, according to the agreement, as I said, that you signed with the Secretary of Education, at least 20% of the ESSER 3 funds had to go towards student groups which the pandemic exacerbated pre-existing inequities, addressing students' social and emotional learning needs and equity and inclusivity in general. Anytime you hear the term social and emotional learning, diversity in education and equity, things like that, it's a red flag. All of these things essentially are CRT. It's super sneaky. Look up the Ed COVID-19 Handbook Volume 2, Roadmap to Reopening Safely and Meeting All Students' Needs, put out by the Biden administration. This roadmap uses the word equity 21 times. And many of the suggestions in the handbook were gathered from these left-leaning national groups like the National Education Association, and a lot of them openly promote gay activacy programs, and it's all Marxism. It's hidden under the guise of helping offset the learning loss that students have experienced from COVID-19, but it's Marxism. Social and emotional learning was originally sold as training children to control their emotions and manage time and make good personal decisions. And it sounds like it could be possibly a good thing, maybe. Seems like it's possibly a disaster on its face to me, because who's deciding what is socially acceptable? And it's not even that. It's not even what it seems to be. And why is there such a focus on it in recent years? Well, when the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, it's now called ESSA, was reauthorized in 2015, a provision was included that encouraged states to include non-academic performance data, and it's collected by teachers and staff. All of this data is very valuable to people who invest in social impact bonds, and it's also called pay for success. This is where private lenders provide upfront capital for social and education programs in return for payment with interest when the programs reach an agreed upon outcome. So the investors want to see the data so they can make better bets on how these bonds are going to perform. There's also a high value put on grit and obedience as being an ideal in these social and emotional learning umbrellas. Not much emphasis is being put on building character, and none of this is backed on science. Real science, not peer-reviewed studies paid for by special interests, and nobody's been able to replicate them. Parents, you have the right to opt out of this. I just want to make you aware of that. Also, sales of social and emotional learning materials shot up 45% in a year and a half to $765 million in 2021. And these people who make these materials lobby Congress and the Federal Department of Education to make sure that their language precisely matches what they're selling. I'm sure you probably heard about Merrick Garland. He asked the FBI to look into parents that were protesting issues like social and emotional learning. And why do you think he'd do that? Well, his son-in-law is a co-founder of Panorama Education, and it's raking in millions selling social and emotional learning. Basically, it's just evil. It's very evil. So when I see things like Dr. James Knight, who somehow infiltrated the Catholic diocese, well, that's not really that surprising, it raises a lot of red flags. This man is pushing Marxism. I kind of understand why you chose him over the others, because he's like nicer about it. He's not in your face and screaming at you that you're a racist. But it's actually, in a way, it's worse because he's bringing Jesus into it. So I'm calling on the board tonight to resign for dereliction of duty and breaking their oaths to uphold the Constitution of the United States. I'm demanding that Jim Lloyd issue a public apology about lying about the masks being a requirement for the ESSER funds. And I would like everybody to admit that masks don't have anything to do with science. You've violated the citizens' civil rights by declaring these mask mandates, and you've been torturing children for the last 2 years. Speech delays have gone up 3,500%. There's been absolutely no scientific basis for anything that you've done. Every science teacher in this district should be fired. Any science teacher that yelled at a kid to pull their mask up over their face needs to be fired and ashamed. You shouldn't be able to walk down the street. You're disgusting people.
Ms. Suzanne Corley?
I thought she gave her time.
No, Suzanne did not.
Okay.
Mr. Grant gave Ms. Hitch her time.
Well, I'll only be here about a minute, so you can have some of mine, Rich. Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Suzanne Corley. I just wanted to come before you again tonight. Recap, I was here last May. I inquired about whether or not CRT was present in our schools. You all adamantly said no, it was not. Since then, because of a FOIA request, I have learned that Jim Lloyd received on August 20th of 2021 a message from a parent here, and she was inquiring about it. And it technically, literally what she said is on the CRT, after listening to the folks in the meeting, because apparently she'd been to a school board meeting the night before, she said, I would like to let you know that there are several things going on in your district that might fall under the umbrella of CRT. There are some teachers going rogue and inserting this information into their classrooms. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention, school board. You are our representatives. Could you please look into this? Also in this memo to Jim Lloyd, a lot of it has been redacted. You know, you see the black with the one on the FOIA request. We could not read the entire thing. I'm presuming that the parent went into detail about what teachers were doing what. I would like you to look into that. Instead of just dismissing us that this is crazy talk, it's not. Molly made an incredible presentation that there are legitimate concerns regarding this critical race theory. I know there's not a class of it, but it's in our schools, and this parent confirmed that it's going on. She said her child came home and explained things or shared things that this child was being groomed or influenced to change a lot of personal and political decisions based on what was going on in the classroom, and that child was their child was uncomfortable with it. So anyway, cat's out of the bag. This is something that needs to be addressed, and school board, you are our representatives. And just as a real quick note, I did send you a memo back in an email back in June requesting information that you look into things regarding CRT. And I never heard from any of you on it. Never heard from any of you. I asked if you would provide a definitive statement acknowledging the concerns regarding CRT, rejecting CRT, and proclaiming the will and means to combat against CRT to the parents and citizens of the Olmsted Falls community. Quiet, crickets. Will you hold the superintendent, teachers, and staff accountable regarding implementation of any CRT ideology, crickets. Will you publicly reject any further association with the Diversity Center of Northeast Ohio? That needs to be done, crickets. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that out for the public's attention. Thank you.
Is there any discussion from the board on the items in consent agenda listed in categories 5 through 8? If there's no discussion, when you're ready, Mrs. Van Lee, please
Yes.
Walker? Yes. Newman?
Yes, motion carries. Our next work session is scheduled for March 3rd. Our next regular scheduled board meeting is March 27th, March 28th.